Okay, so I recently purchased this aircraft and still learning how to fly it. Alt-Q will remove all your chocks, etc. And Shift-C will get you inside. So the PC-12 is a great aircraft to fly. Very easy, very good moneymaker, which is how I've earned enough to buy a number of different aircraft, basically with that. So let's request boarding.
We'll begin boarding on your signal.
Ground service. This is flight MPV 75 parking 6. Clear to start passenger boarding.
Okay, get the baggage on, get the passengers on.
Nice to meet you, Captain.
Yes, good day. Okay, so Control E will start everything up. So it will take a bit to start the engines up. I'm going to take a look at the lights overhead here, put on the landing. I mean, you don't have to put all these on, but taxi lights you should have on, and your pulse light. And then I have anti-collision, and I'm just putting all of these on. You can turn your panel lights up a little bit if you want, your auxiliary lighting. Okay, Shift 1 will bring us to this screen. Just take a look. There's your altitude tape, and there's your speed tape. Okay, so let's set the barometric pressure by pressing comma on the keyboard. The engine's still starting up. I don't see much activity here.
TOS system test, okay.
Okay, so we just got that information. You can see the engines are starting to rev up. Right here, you can see that information. Then we should see the other side. So while that's happening, yeah, the other side's starting to rev up. So while that's happening, I'm going to go Shift 2, and I'm going to set the altitude to 18,000. So if you right-click on that with your mouse, you can then go in hundreds. And right-click again, you're back to thousands. I'm going to put the bank on when we get everything fired up, because that can improve passenger comfort if you're just banking, half bank mode. So I'll put the flight directors on. I'm going to click nav on. I'm not going to worry about the heading for now. We're going to turn the autopilot on. It's on, set on FMS, and in order to get to the auto throttle, it's in a very strange spot. Right under there, you see that little blue lighting up? If you click on that, your auto throttle will go on. So we'll turn that on later. And we'll be able to manually control the speed if we switch to manual. Okay, Shift 2, Shift 3. So let's set up our initialization. So operating weight, that looks okay. Payload, there's 7 passengers. Each way, they usually just have them weighing the same amount. Takeoff, you hit FOB. On sync, and it'll enter your fuel on board. So we have like 61%, which certainly isn't going to be enough for the flight. So our takeoff, and then our landing. So that's good. So we go back now, and we have these two checked off. So for this, we're going to need to go origin. That's okay. Our weather, we can load that METAR weather. Okay, and that is not loading right now. And let's just go shift 5, 6. Okay, so maybe because we haven't got some of this stuff. Let's do our speed bugs. Take off, put them all on. Our landing, put them all on. And let's go to our nav1 frequency. Click on that, click there, and that's probably the frequency. It's on standby right now, so let's have a look. So if we go down to runway 16, you have to click on here and click runway, and then runway 16 left, I believe it is. We are going to and there's the frequency, and it is the standby. So if it wasn't, you would just type in what the frequency is. For example, 10950. So make sure that's the same, and then you would hit transfer. And now that's the active frequency. So let's go back to our flight plan there. And let's close that down and go back and back. Our minimums, I'm going to set them to 500. Hit enter. Okay, so let's go back now to setting up this up and see if we can do the weather. Load METAR, use RAD. So show METAR. Just going to try something else here. Since it won't load the weather. I'm going to click on that. Well, it doesn't seem to want to load that, so let's go to weather on here for takeoff here. So it's the winds are 15 knots, or 5 knots, I should say. Normally when you click load METAR weather, it'll load. But anyway, if you got a comment on why that's not loading right now, let me know. So the temperature is 17. So how about we try and just manually enter these? 17. And the wind is 5. Okay, so we got that loaded. Okay, so runway, that looks good. That's the runway we're taking off from. Takeoff config, you can just use the defaults on that. And then takeoff data, you have to accept it. Okay, so let's go back here, and they are all checked off now. So let's just accept initialization. Okay, so we're good. Our flight plan, here we go. Let's scroll down This is a manual sequence right here. So we can actually remove that waypoint. I'm just going to slide down looking at our flight plan. So everything looks pretty good. I mean, if we run into a problem, you can click on any of these and say go direct to. So there's a manual sequence. So I'm going to see if I can get rid of the manual sequence and go directly to this. So now let's just go down. Okay, so looks like it's going to now just go directly from this waypoint to the approach. So that looks good. Just checking to make sure everything's okay down here. There's the speed brakes. You can put them on just by dragging them. So you're going to want to do that when we land. And I have a button that I can press on my throttle to do it. Okay, so most of this other stuff's been taken care of because we did the automatic Control E startup. So let's go back to our view out the front window, and we're going to put the flaps down to 7 for takeoff. I'm going to request IFR clearance.
Ground, Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75, ready to copy IFR clearance to Salt Lake.
Robin 438, November Papa Victor 75, is cleared to Salt Lake Airport via the Alpha Golf Charlie 9er departure, runway 28. Climb via SID, maintain flight level 180. Departure frequency is 128.45, squawk 7126.
Okay, so you just acknowledge that.
Clear to Salt Lake via the Alpha Golf Charlie 9er departure, runway 28.
Robin 438,
Climb via SID,
November Papa
maintain
Victor 75.
flight level
Readback is
180.
correct.
Departure
Contact
frequency
ground
is
on
128.45, squawk 7126. Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75.
Have a nice trip.
So they were stepping on each other there. We're going to request
Ground,
consequence.
Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75 with Echo, ready to taxi IFR.
Robin 438, November Papa Victor 75. Taxi to and hold short of runway 28, using taxiway Bravo Charlie Alpha cross runway Tree 1 Alpha. Contact tower on 121.1 when ready.
Okay, so
Taxiing, hold short runway 28 via taxiway Bravo, Charlie Alpha cross runway, Tree 1 Alpha. Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75.
okay, so I'm going to press COM on the keyboard just to make sure my barometric pressure is set correct for takeoff. And I'm going to go outside so you can see. I'm going to release the parking brake. And we should start to roll if the engines are all still revved up properly. Okay, we're going to welcome the passengers. Try not to go too fast. I usually try and avoid other aircraft, but sometimes they're just annoying.
To all passengers, welcome onboard flight MPV 75 with service from West Mifflin to Salt Lake City. We'll be shortly in line for takeoff. Please fasten your seatbelts and secure all baggage underneath your seat. And to make sure your seats and table trays are in the upright position for takeoff. Please switch all personal electronic devices, including laptops and cell phones, to airplane mode. This is a non-smoking flight. Thank you for choosing NAS Pro VIP. Enjoy your flight.
Alrighty. With this aircraft, try and stay below 30 knots for taxi regulations, or you'll get a penalty. Also, if you have your parking brakes on, you'll get a no takeoff warning, or if your flaps aren't down, you'll get a no takeoff warning. So I'm going to slow down a bit here so I don't exceed the taxi speed. It's a little hard to trust that speed down on the left corner there. So this plane does have auto throttle and reverse thrust for landing. PC-24 does not have reverse thrust. It relies more on the flaps and brakes. Okay, I'm going to request takeoff.
Tower, Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75, ready for IFR departure, runway 28.
Robin 438 November Papa, Victor 75, altimeter tree 004. Cleared for takeoff, runway 28.
Okay, got to acknowledge that.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 28. Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75. Dear passengers, this is First Officer Aldrich speaking. Estimated flight time to Salt Lake City is 3 hours. We remind you to keep your seatbelt fastened. Thank you for your attention, and let's have a great flight.
Okay, I'm going to speed things up by using the sim rate option and refueling in flight if necessary. So I'm just going to line up here and get ready for takeoff. Go inside so you can see. So we got our altitude set, we got our flap set. So we shouldn't get any warnings. I don't see any on the primary flight display at the moment. So let's go full throttle. Should get a notification from the co-pilot to rotate. Hit the right speed. Gee, the runway's rough.
V1, rotate.
There we go. Just pull up gently. Take you outside so you can see what's going on. Okay, so we're going to get the gear up. I'm going to bring up the flaps.
Robin 438 November Papa, Victor 75, contact Cleveland Center on 128.45. Good day.
128.45. Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75.
I'm going to try and not go into overspeed here.
Cleveland Center, Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75, is passing 3,200 climbing flight level 180.
Robin 438 November Papa, Victor 75, Cleveland Center, altimeter tree 004. Radar contact. Continue.
I'm going to cancel the IFR.
Cleveland Center, Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75 would like to cancel IFR.
Robin 438 November Papa, Victor 75. IFR flight plan is canceled. Radar service terminated. Squawk 1200. Maintain VFR. Frequency change approved. Good day.
Okay, so I canceled the IFR. I'll put the autopilot on now.
We're in overspeed. We need to slow down.
Okay, so we'll have to slow down with the autopilot. we're going a little too fast. So I've got it on manual, so I should be able to slow down like that to 200. Should be okay. Let's go shift. Looks like we picked up our, as soon as I put it on autopilot, looks like we picked up our flight plan. We're flying okay. And nav is on. I'm going to put the flight directors on. If they're not, they are. Yaw damper. I guess this plane maybe doesn't have yaw damper. This banking, I'm putting that on. And we're good. Now it does have vertical speed. If you want to manually set your vertical speed, you can. Or you can use FLC mode. So I'm going to put FLC on right now, and it should start climbing. Right here, if you look. It should climb to, yeah, so it's not climbing there. And it's probably because I have it on manual. Well, excuse me, it just kicked in. I guess it took a few seconds. And this plane has a lot of boost. So for fuel, we're getting low, so if I just press Shift 5 on the keyboard, I don't know if you noticed, but the fuel gauge just went up. So I just added fuel, like a quarter tank, for every tap. And those are keys that I bind in my settings. You can pick whatever keys you want on your keyboard and bind them to add fuel in flight. Otherwise, you won't be able to complete your flights, especially in the PC-12, which flies beautifully, other than it doesn't have the range that this jet does, but it's still, this jet still wouldn't probably have enough fuel to do the flight, these long cross-country flights. All right, so I can increase the sim rate now. And as I do that, you see how much quicker we're climbing. And we should level off at 18. I'm going to hit the barometric pressure comma on the keyboard. We're at sim rate 4 right now. Let's go sim rate 8. If you go sim rate 16, it'll be that much faster, but the plane tends to bob up and down just because it's increased so much. So I'm going to go 16, and you'll see what I mean. It does tend to bob up and down a bit. That's because it's accentuated, the autopilot controlling our altitude. Alright, so let's just take a look at our progress here by going to route and zooming out. See, for the most part we were flying manually along this until we picked up the flight plan. So we're going to Kamak right now, and that's 120 nautical miles away, so it's a long flight. Let's just hope everything goes well when we get there. So even when we get to this waypoint, this arrival approach, we're still scheduled to be like at 44,000 feet. And you can do it if you want, but I don't think we need to be that high. So, and since I'm just going cancel IFR, you can see here that we are going to clear everything at 17,000 there. Let's make it 18,000. Okay, now it's 18,000. So you can see that we're not going to have any issues with terrain. We can go as low as 10,000 here. So that's why I use little nav map. Basically just to give me an idea. I'm going to center the aircraft here. Yeah, just to give me an idea how we're doing. And we're actually following with little nav map a fairly close flight plan to what's in the electronic flight bag. So let's take a look at this aircraft. So it's really nicely rendered. November 24491. Bobbing a little bit, and if I slow things down to 8, it doesn't bob quite as much, and 4, it's a little smoother. So that gives you an idea of what you can expect. Now when you get close to the airport, your approach, you want to slow it down to like about 4, 8 or 4, and it's just so everything's not happening so quickly. And then back to normal sim rate for landing. So there's your weather. This is real weather, I believe, right now. And the terrain is nicely rendered by Microsoft Flight Sim, as is the aircraft. So if you zoom in, sometimes you can see the passengers in there, sitting in their seats. It's pretty dark right now. And if you want to know how, you can see some people, I think, a little bit, not easy. The co-pilot and pilot are always easy to see. Get a little look at the plane underneath. So let's go inside, go overhead, turn off the taxi lights if they're not off. I think they automatically turn off when you take off. So I don't think you have to worry about those. Well, these other lights I'm going to leave on, but I'll turn off the seat belts. Turn them on when we're about to land. So I'm just going to speed things up again. So we've got 71% fuel, so you have to keep an eye on the fuel. Okay. If you get this happening, sometimes bring up your ATC and just tune Chicago or whatever one is nearby. Sometimes that just shuts that off because it can be quite annoying. So if the trim isn't set right in this aircraft, you won't be able to take off. You'll get a no take off until you set the trim properly. Yeah, the trim usually has to be in the green area down here. So everything looks pretty good here. Getting the flashing on the barometric pressure. I'm going to hit comma on the keyboard, and it just changed the barometric pressure. 29er, 2. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, if you wanted to set it on standard, if you just bang on that with your mouse key or right, it'll set it to standard. Right there. That's if you're going over 18,000. And then if you hit it again, it'll go back to normal. This is your heading bug right here. If you want to line that up, just watch it right here. If you just right click on your heading, if you just right click on your heading right here, see it lined it right up there. Pretty soon I'm going to have to add some fuel in flight. Sort of doing that galloping action again. We got quite a ways to go yet, but you see we just passed Lake Michigan, the Great Lakes, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, and Lake Superior. So we're just in the U.S. right now, flying into the Rockies, or the foothills. Salt Lake City, I believe, is our destination. So if you look up here, you can see our departure, airport, and then Salt Lake City International is our destination. There's the 1,496 nautical mile flight. And I think they said 3 hours or something when we took off. Back off a bit. Yeah, we're not quite halfway. This would be about halfway right here, looks like. So I'll have to add some fuel. And I'm going to do it right now. You will get a notification from the co-pilot if you're below half fuel. But you only get that notification once. So you better do avoid that, and just in case you forget to, and you're running out of fuel just before you land. You don't want to lose your flight just because you have no fuel. It's a little hard if you're not at a good altitude to restart the engines, fuel up, and then restart the engines. It's possible. I've been able to do it, but best just not to run out of fuel. So I'm going to top up fuel right now. So I went to 80%. And now I'm at 99%. So I'm pretty sure that you get charged for that in your credits for doing this flight. The fun part about doing these charter flights is it's always to a different airport, a different destination, which offers different challenges. The takeoff's usually not too difficult, and the in-flight usually goes pretty well. It's the landing that can be sort of impacting your credit points for your flight. So you have to do everything right on landing, and you have to make a fairly smooth landing. And like I said, having this half bank on seems to help a bit with passenger satisfaction. And definitely washing the aircraft before the flight is going to make a difference on VIP charters. Okay, so everything is looking pretty good here. The weather is pretty good, so I don't think we're going to pick up, unless we run into weather up ahead, too much in the way of points for weather. If you're flying through bad weather, you get extra bonus points, but this is not looking too bad. It's going to be 10 knots, 140 from 140 degrees, the wind. Visibility is pretty good. Temperature's 23, and the air pressure, there's your barometric pressure there. Scattered clouds, so I don't think we're going to have any bad weather. A little bit right here, but we're going to be above that, I think. You can see a little bit of weather right here showing up. And you can adjust that by selecting your map settings if you want weather to show up, which I have set up. That centers your aircraft. Center your aircraft. That's your nearest airports. Flight information. Display size and display orientation. So there are checklists also that you can bring up. If you go to airplane and checklists, you can get your checklists. Your in-flight checklists are here. Descent, So if you look at that, the altimeter set, exterior lights as required, approach, there's your approach stuff, minimum set, must be set as appropriate. Flaps 1 or 2 when desired. So, and also if you click on that little eyeball there, it'll take you to show you, sort of show you where your flaps are and your ice. Usually takes you to it in the direction you, okay, we're getting into a little bit of bad weather, which isn't a bad thing because it gives you bonus points. So I'm going to go back to our route and see how we're doing. Yeah, we are flying through this stuff. We're getting a little notification there every time we hit our altitude. I'm going to hit the barometric pressure again. Just reset again, just to make sure I'm at the right altitude. So we're getting close. We've got lots of fuel now to make it. And there's a manual right here, so I think we've deleted that in our flight plan, but if we haven't, we're going to have to go direct to. We're going to have to click on one of our waypoints and fly direct to it if we lose our flight plan. If it just goes into roll mode. Right now, on the primary flight, say, you can see our speed is set at 221. Our flight management system's on, autopilot, auto throttle, altitude, and there's our altitude that it's holding right now. There's our calm setting. So I'll have to slow down the sim rate plus the aircraft speed for landing. Let's bring up electronic flight brief again, see where we're at. And you can start zooming in as you get closer. So you can see that for this waypoint, they want you at 12,000. And let's go take a look at little nav now for a second, just for confirmation. I'm just going to zoom in here and drag things over. Okay, so we should be at 7,500 to enter this feather, this ILS feather. And then 6,000 at this point. Here's, I guess, where we're going to pick up the glide slope. So we want to be at 6,000. So let's have a look at our flight plan. Get ready. So this says 6,000. I usually go by this, but sometimes it doesn't always agree. So procedure. So here we go, 12,000, 1,100, and 6,000. So, you know, this is pretty much an agreement. Yeah, so they're not always. The electronic flight bag and your flight plan aren't always in agreement on some of the aircraft. So I usually go by whichever one makes the most sense, to be honest with you. So the, looks like the elevation is 4,800. Let's have a look here and see what the nav map says that. $4,221. Okay, so it's a little bit different there. That's the elevation for the runway, I think, and this is where the airport is. But at any rate, that's what we need to get to. So we're getting close. So we're still, you know, we could be flying at 44,000. I find if you get up too high, it takes a while to get this the speed of this aircraft down if you're flying too high. So let's take a look at Little Map and see. This is where it's showing where we are. And the aircraft usually shows up on this, but it's not. Showing up here, but not here. So I got a feeling once you get to Carter, you're by these mountains. So let's have a look here. See what waypoint we're going to stop right now. There's Carter. That's when we'd be pretty safe to descend. So we're still going at sim rate 16. I'm going to slow down to 200 because we're going to have to start descending soon, and I don't want to go into overspeed. So you can see the airspeed slowing down here. Let's check barometric pressure again. So we're getting this information now as we get near, so don't forget to put down your landing gear. So I'm going to start zooming in now. So at this waypoint here, I guess it's when we clear the mountains. Not really sure how far we are along here. Simply because the aircraft for some reason isn't showing up. We're getting fairly close though. So I believe we can go down to about 12,000. So let's go back inside. And let's slow everything right down. And I've got it down to normal sim rate right now. So let's go down to 12,000. See if the FLC mode will kick in. It's on. Let's see if it's going to, yeah, so it's descending. Just takes it a few seconds. And it's kind of controlling our speed as we descend to some extent. Descending at a speed that will keep us around 200, I guess. So I'm going outside just to make sure there's no terrain in the way. So here we are here. So like I say, if you wait too long to descend, if you're able to descend and you're on visual flight rules, you don't have IFR and ATC harassing you, then you better get down at a good altitude as long as there's no terrain issues. So hit your barometric pressure just to correct it, which I just did, so that you're getting to the correct altitude. Okay, I should be able to speed things up a little bit now. Now that I've got things sort of under control. So I've gone to sim rate 4. It'll just speed up the flight. I can't really contact the tower yet because we're too far away. And I have to get my airspeed down below like 160, I believe it is, for the landing gear and the flaps. So it should level off at 12,000. So that's what you'd have to be at, Carter. Okay. So hopefully this manual has been taken care of. If not, we're going to have to go direct to this waypoint right here. That's why you need to have things down to normal on approach so you have time to do these things. Okay, let's have a look here. We need to get to 11,000. 11,000 and 9,000 and 7,500 then 6,000. Now if I press enter now, it's probably not going to allow me to contact. So I just press the enter key and get nothing, but you're really still too far away. And you seem to get 2 of these messages. The first one doesn't connect. Okay, let me see where we're at here. Yeah, we still got a ways to go here. Okay, we may have to clear these mountains right here, so that's why I'm keeping an eye on things. But at 12,000, we should be okay. Like we can go down to 10,000. You can see right here. Oh, there's our aircraft. Now it's showing. So we can go down to 10,000 without hitting these mountains. But we want to get to this waypoint before we start descending, I believe, for our approach. Here we are right here. So we're getting pretty darn close. So I'm going to have to slow the sim rate down shortly. We're going to just go back to Microsoft Flight Sim. There's the lake we're flying over. Nice job, Microsoft Flight Sim. Yeah, so we're going to have to clear these mountains before we turn into Salt Lake City. Pretty soon I'm going to slow us down a bit. The landing speed for the Citation Longitude in Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 should generally range between 110 to 130 knots. But if you get too low, I find this aircraft will give you stall warnings. So I'm going to set it for 130 and see if I can reduce it just on touchdown. So the threshold should be around 110 to 115 knots if we can pull that off. We'll be turning shortly. I'm going to slow down now to normal. And I'm going to slow the speed down. We have to get that speed down in order to put down our flaps. I'm going to go 160. Let's have a look at how things are going here. Okay, we're going to clear the mountains here. But I have to be down to 11, which I should be okay to do. Once I get by Carter there. I'm going to check the barometric pressure. See where we are here. Okay, we can descend. Start descending. FLC mode, descending. I'm going to slow down some more because we are descending. I'm going to go to 150. And we need to get down to 9,000. So I'm just going to keep descending. Okay, so I should be able to put down the landing gear. That'll slow us down a bit. I'll have to watch the auto throttle, and I can put the flaps down, helping us descend a little quicker too. So let's try and contact them. We can't yet still. Okay, so we need to get down to, what is it, 6,000. So we're just going to go all the way to 6. Hopefully we get there in time. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, so let's just shift one here. And look, yeah, we can put full flaps down, it looks like. I'm going to put some more flaps down. I'm going to see if I can get those lights going here. Taxi lights automatically came on. Okay, seatbelts on. Shift 1. Get us back here. So our airspeed is looking pretty good. Try and contact them. Still have been able to contact them. This is a message that pops up a lot, but it doesn't seem to affect anything. And remember, we have to get down to 6,000. And we're at Carter right now, so we're doing pretty good. I am going to have to hit the approach shortly. And the approach button's right here. And I don't know if I can turn that on yet or not. it's not going on, staying on nav. So we're probably, because we're not close enough. We did set the frequency. There's 6,000. To show you a little nav map. See, we're still quite a ways from that feather there. We haven't even reached Weber yet, so let's just see how things go as we approach. You get a nice view of Salt Lake City and the lake as we approach. Yeah, it's beautiful here. We're in the foothills. There's the foothill mountains off to the left, so it's quite a beautiful area. Yeah, I still haven't been able to contact them, but I think what will happen, we'll get a second message like this. It seems to happen. It's probably just a little glitch. So we're at 6,000 now, so I'm going to hit the barometric pressure key, comma, on the keyboard, just to double check and make sure we're okay. So the airport, I think, is right on the other side of the lake here. So we haven't started descending yet. I'm going to try and hit the approach button again. Still not on. Still on nav mode. This back course button is something I'm going to have to use every morning. I don't think you need VNav on to get the approach on. If anyone knows anything about that, let me know. VNav helps you sort of come down at the graduated altitudes that you set in your flight plan, but I usually just use the altitude button. Okay, so we're getting closer. Go shift 3, you can see where your progress is. There's a VNav button right there. So we're still a little bit ways out. We haven't got that second message here to contact the airport yet. Our speed looks okay, so as long as we're not getting into the yellow here, we shouldn't get any stall warnings. Our fuel is good, 59%. Flaps are down, landing gear is down. Lights are on as necessary. So we're holding nicely at 6,000. Let's have a look at the chart here. Yeah, this is where we have to keep an eye and make sure it doesn't go manual and it keeps flying to this waypoint here. If we see it going off track here, we'll know something's wrong. But since we deleted that and connected these two waypoints, this one and this one, Weber to iron there, we should be okay. It should just keep flying to iron right here, and then you can see we're a little bit high there, but I wasn't sure. It's not hurting to be at this level, 6,000, I don't know. Let's see if we get any complaints from these people about aircraft flying too low. I think as long as we're above 1,000 feet, we're okay. Now look at that huge building. There must be a shopping center or something. Big highway going into Salt Lake. Freeway. Yeah, it's quite a beautiful spot here, actually. Imagine it gets pretty hot here in the summer. Okay, we're getting pretty close. There's that waypoint there. Let's go inside and see what happens when we get to our flight plan here. See if it just kicks and goes straight from here to here. That's what it should do. Well, it's holding nicely at 6,000. Okay, so it should switch over from Weber to iron. And we'll get into this approach here. So pretty soon I should be able to hit approach mode, pick up the localizer. Okay, so it did. So it's flying right on track. So we're good. I'm going to see if I can get the approach mode on. So now it came on because we're close enough for it to pick up the localizer. So if you look over here, sometimes it'll indicate there, but we should see diamond shape come down when we pick up the glide slope. So we're holding right on 6,000. We should start descending when we intercept glide slope. The speed's not too bad right now, so I'm just going to leave it alone. Press enter again to see if I can contact them. Even if you try ATC, like see, you don't really have the option to contact them. But usually I find when you get really close, you get a second message. And if you don't, like you get penalized. It does have flaws, that's for sure. Yeah, here's the lake here. I think the airport's on the other side of that lake. That's a pretty big place, that's for sure. Looks like another shopping center or a big factory here. So we should start descending when we intercept that glide slope. So on landing, I am going to put on the reverse thrust. And hopefully that'll slow us down. And hopefully when I take it off autopilot, it doesn't start going crazy. And it's easy to control for landing. If you find you buy this aircraft and you're not seeing any VIP flights for it, it's because you probably have to do some in freelance or in employee mode first, and you do a few and get your reputation up high enough, then all of a sudden you'll start seeing VIP flights that you can use this aircraft on. So don't panic if you buy it and at first you don't see any VIP choices. Do a few employee ones, and then all of a sudden they'll populate on your map. let's have a look inside. See this G here? There's the diamond starting to come down. When that gets right here, we're going to start descending. I'm going to check the barometric pressure again, see if it changes. Yes, it just changed. So that's important to do just before you land so you don't slam down onto the runway. You're actually at the right altitude also to intercept the glide slope. See the GS there? That's and the LOC is in white. So when they turn green and this turns green, we're locked in. That's not going to happen until this diamond gets down here to this point and we intercept it. Still not getting an opportunity to do this. I think we need to get a little bit closer and all of a sudden it pops up. So it is a little annoying. On some flights, some aircraft, this isn't an issue. You're able to just hit enter and notify the airport. But if I'm not able to notify them and I touch down, I'll probably get a penalty, which is a bug in the system. So pressing enter is not doing anything for this. So don't be surprised if you do this flight and that happens. We're starting to descend now. Nope, we're not descending. I thought we were. That was just temporary adjustment. Let's see where we're at here. Let's see where we are with little Madman. Well, we're getting right there right about now, so it might be failing to intercept. In which case I'll just have to do it manually. Oh, there it comes. It's starting to come down. Okay, so there's the second one. And that one will work. So that saves us from getting a penalty for not contacting. And you notice you can't hear us talking. It's just lights up green. So as long as that happens, you're okay. So we should start descending shortly. That's where we intercepted right there. We haven't quite got there yet. And our airspeed doesn't look too bad. I'm going to try and go 140. See what happens. There comes the diamond. We'll start descending as soon as it gets to there. Okay, it's on LOC now, so it's locked on. Localizer 1. So we had the frequency set correctly. And very shortly we'll start descending. Still at 143 for our airspeed, 142, 140. Once we start descending, like we are right now, it should pick up a little speed. Doesn't seem to be. Hanging right around 140. So I'm not going to shoot for 120 because I think it's going to stall if I do that. Yeah, I'm going to try and slow it down a bit though. I can take the auto throttle off and try and bring it in myself when we get a little closer. I'll try and control the speed. And I think if I don't take the auto throttle off and it's stuck on, then it'll be hard to stop the aircraft. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. See where that green diamond is in the primary flight display? It's staying right in the middle, so we're pretty, and you can see there's 2 white and 2 red, so that means we're on a good descent. And our airspeed's not too bad. It's got dropped down to 126. So that's actually pretty good. You see it's pitching up a bit though? Okay, I think we're losing a little airspeed here. Take the autopilot off now. See if I can land this.
Too low flaps. Too low flaps.
I'm getting too low flaps, but anyway. See what I mean? How hard it is to control this aircraft as soon as you take it off.
200. Too low flaps. Too low flaps. Too low 100. Too low flaps. 50 low flaps.
Try and land on the runway.
10.
Okay, so I'll put the reverse thrust on. So as soon as I took it off autopilot, maybe there's wind, crosswind at 15 knots. It took us off the center line of the runway and I had to correct. I'm going to bring up the flaps. Yeah, you get the too low flaps warning. If anyone knows why I'm getting that, let me know. I don't think I was doing overspeed on those flaps. And maybe they wanted full flaps, I'm not sure. Too low flaps, maybe they wanted flaps up or down. Anyway, it still worked okay. I had to control the airspeed manually. See, I took the auto throttle off just before I landed. I have a button for doing that. And if you don't do that, sometimes you get this crazy auto throttle warning that won't stop unless you shut the auto throttle off after you land. So we got to go down here to hold short. See what kind of score we get. See how we did on the flight overall. Let's take a gander. I'm going to look and see if the taxi lights came on when I landed, because they were on, I believe. They went on all by themselves, but let's have a look.
We'll shortly start our descent to Salt Lake City International. We expect to land in a few minutes. If you want to adjust your watch, it is 5:55 p.m. in Salt Lake City now. On behalf of our captain, thank you for choosing NAS Pro VIP today. We wish you a pleasant stay in Salt Lake City, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Well, it's quite pretty with the mountains in the background. It's a lot like Calgary in Canada. Okay, we got to get up here until we can shut that whole short sign off. See if it'll shut off. Still on. Okay, a little further forward. You don't want to go too far. They ding you for a penalty. There we go.
Salt Lake ground, Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75, taxi to parking.
Robin 438, November Papa, Victor 75, taxi to General Aviation, parking via taxiway Quebec Cross Runway Tree 2, Quebec Cross Runway Tree 5 Kilo 5 Kilo.
Taxiing to General Aviation parking via taxiway Quebec Cross Runway Tree 2, Quebec Cross Runway Tree 5 Kilo 5 Kilo.
Keep your speed
Robin
down
438
below 30
November
now,
Papa
30
Victor
knots.
75.
Oh, we've got a ways to go for parking. We're almost 1 nautical mile. Doesn't look like anybody's coming on the runway, so we're good to cross over. Don't want to get it hit by any airport vehicles or aircraft coming or going. The vehicles aren't really an issue, and the aircraft either, in like bus like them, it's like they are ghosts. You just go right through, but I like to check anyway. So just make sure you don't go too fast here. You can put it on sim rate 2 if you want, but this plane does taxi pretty well. Not like the PC-12, which tends to race always above taxi speed. So it's a pretty big airport, that's for sure. I can see why our client wanted to fly here. It's a beautiful place. I hope they're happy with the flight. So we can earn some good credits. No aircraft on the runway coming or going. Gotta keep my speed down below 20. I'll show you what it looks like when you put it on sim rate 2. I'm gonna slow down here first. There, that's sim rate 2. You can see that goes a little faster. I just took it off sim rate 2. Really didn't seem to be making much of a difference because I don't know if that airspeed that's showing up, that true airspeed down the bottom left, is actually accurate or not. I mean, normally they'd be screaming at you if you're doing 27 knots because you'd be getting very close to a penalty. So the co-pilot's not saying anything, so I think we're only really doing around 10, 12, 16 knots right now. So some airports, the taxi is extremely long, sometimes 2 to 3 nautical miles just to get to your old short spot. And this is certainly a long way to a parking stand. It would be kind of nice if they gave you a little closer ones. I mean, it's just a career mode flight, so. But such is the game. We are finally here. If you don't follow these taxi lines perfectly, you don't get penalized too much. Only when you're trying to get your certification for the aircraft will you end up getting penalized for not being too good at taxiing. So I'm just going to stay away from that airplane there. Try not to hit it. So if I had to say one thing is the plane does fly fairly good. It does get a little tricky on landing. It takes a lot of practice to do it really well. And also, probably the better gear you have, the better you do. But it's still very doable on the basic throttle and joystick combination. You can still enjoy your career mode quite a bit. Let's just see how much we make here. I'm going to put on the parking brake, and I'm going to shut it down. Not hearing anything from the client, so that's not necessarily a good thing. If they tell you, oh, it was a great flight, I got all my work done, had a nap, then you're likely to get a better score. So let's just see what they think. So we got a mission success, which is a good thing. But let's just see if we did anything wrong that they didn't like. Okay. Oh, 96, respect aircraft conditions. So something happened there a little bit. That's not good. This is excellent, like passenger satisfaction. Wow, that's a 4,778,550 experience points. That's very good. So let's just see how much we earned. $5 million. Ooh, that's good. 5,034,760 credits. Wow. So for bad weather, we got 2,136. So now this is, I think the more you fly this plane, the better you'll do, especially with your reputation bonus. And also, it'll probably start making more than the PC-12 simply because it's a jet. We had, more passengers on board and they were happy, so that probably helped. But no skip bonus. See, we got over $1 million in our base income. So rather than flying as an employee for somebody else, we're getting all the cash here. And let's see. Oh, actually, they bumped us up even though we didn't respect the aircraft 100%. So next tells us if we leveled up. Yeah, we're level 358 now. And let's look at how much we have. 240,098,297 credits. And that is without using any of the large airline aircraft. Just simply the PC-12 and this plane right here. And of course, I have companies, other planes and companies on passive income, which is helping a little bit, but not much. You don't make much on passive income. I mean, you make $1 million, and then you have to pay like $300,000 for expenses. So you're not really getting that far ahead on passive income. I don't find anyway. So if you stuck with me this far, thank you very much. That was a fairly long flight, and if you're planning on buying this aircraft, it's a good aircraft. And if you're planning on flying it, I hope you picked up some tips. So remember to like and hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. So long for now, flight simmers.